How can the ages of the Afton children impact the timeline? Let's get into it. All right, this all starts with this simple image right here. And you can see that we are going to be solving the height of the crying child with this image. Now, if we take this with that the tables are child size, they're about 30 inches around that time. And that will place crying child the youngest 1 year old. Right? All right, step one done. But I had a nagging feeling this is wrong to me. It's not like evidence, but I felt kind of off to me. So I decided to just look a little bit further. And I also remembered that one of the measurements for the tables could have been 40 inches if they were for adults. That would also make crying child roughly closest to 4-year-old. That's the strongest opinion I have. And the crying child does look a toddler in the minigame. And a 4-year-old is pretty close to a toddler, so this works pretty good. Now, Michael's age, this is not as easy compared to the crying child because we don't have much on him. But we do know from his behaviors he needs to be socially dominant because of the fact that he's leading his friends with this prank. He needs to be able to coordinate this. And he needs to be able to lift up at least half of the crying child's weight. And there needs to also be a natural age gap between the crying child and Michael for Elizabeth to also be in there. And the strongest idea I had was 10 years old, taking everything into account his strength, his social actions, and what feels the most natural in this case. Placing Michael at 10 would make the most sense at the earliest. Now we have the births of both of the Afton boys. Michael in 1973 and Crying Child in 1979. Now, little Elizabeth, the most mysterious of them all, in my opinion. Based on FNAF 4 minigames, and when you go into an empty room that belongs to a most likely a girl, you can assume that's Elizabeth's room. And since she's not in any of the games at all, like you get to see Michael, William, even in the shadows, but no mention of Elizabeth. Now, this could just be because the character wasn't created yet, or that she's just not there at all, because she's dead, meaning her death takes place before the crying child. Now, this can be a little bit of a controversial, considering many people can also think that Elizabeth dies after the crying child because of the murder weapon thing. But I think we should just take things at face value sometimes. And at face value, it says Elizabeth died first. Okay? And now for her age. She needs to be able to wander independently, listen to William, but also be able to disobey him. And an age that works the best, I think, is between 3 to 6. 3 is not as strong because that would place her at younger than Crying Child. And I just don't think that fits properly, like smoothly, but obviously it can still work. And if we do take it 3, that just means that the circus baby had to be built latest 1980, because her death can be latest 1983, like a few months before Crying Child, meaning that the murder weapon was present at minimum 5 years prior to the missing children's incident even happening. William was doing this pretty early on. This also makes it fit cleaner that William had other victims, and that Charlie wasn't even his first, but she was definitely the most unplanned of all of them. Now, that can also be a little bit jarring considering Henry's line of a wound first inflicted upon him. Now, that can change things. That's kind of contradictory. But we can also just assume that Henry just doesn't know about the other ones. Like, he never knew that William did it even earlier. But that is definitely the main contradictory that I have here. Now, the only question I have for myself is How do we solve sister locations time placement?